This is Josiah Plays Torment, Tides of Numenera. We are here in the underbelly. I've got my buddies Allegairn, Tabir, Matt Keena, and we are exploring the area, talking to the people, investigating a murder, most foul. The only way this murder could have been more most foul is if it had been the murder of a chicken. But it was not the murder of a chicken. It was the murder of a man. What's up, Blinking Ninja? Welcome back. Alright, let's see what this pauper has to say. Mook's no meatmonger. He's an artist. I was a Skarlark once. That's all behind me now. Mook's Drebble Wings changed my life. Ooh, Drebble Wings. I sold everything I own so I can eat here once a day until I die. Try the Aneen Shank. Go on. It'll blow your throat open. I don't know that that's what I want. When I die here, maybe he'll cook me. Wouldn't that be a treat? This guy is a real fan of the meatmonger. There's the headless man. There's a manufactory worker. You, hold your roll. Slow your roll. Please, just leave me alone. I think we already talked to this guy. Alright, what do we have here? This vat is filled with wriggling reptilian tails knotted and tangled together. Oh. Well, that looks lovely. Look, they're even wriggling. They're wriggling! And there's some sort of strange insects hovering about them. I would say flies, but this is Numenera, so they're probably not flies. They're probably something much weirder. You're eating a chicken now? See, when you say that, I imagine that you have a whole chicken, possibly not even dead, and you're just taking bites out of it, like the whole chicken, not the feathers still on it and shit. Just Anonymous says, I'd like to think that some of the times when you talk without streaming, you still talk to us, the chat. Yeah, I guess sometimes I probably do. Alright, then you got this strange-looking pulsating thing. A swollen mass of wet, glistening muscle quivers in the vat. Alright, suddenly this is sounding like a romance novel. And what's this? Hundreds of leathery wings flutter against each other like they're trying to escape. They grow haphazardly, one sprouting from the next. So he's growing these strange types of meat in a vat here. Aye-oh, anybody wants some meat? Alright, let's talk to the meatmonger. He's gonna mong some meat. Meat, meat, meat! A short, solid man stands behind a smoking grill, turning pieces of meat with a pair of grimy tongs. Sweat is pouring down his grizzled face, yet he's covered head to toe in grease-spattered clothes. Spattered. Bespattered. His sleeves are tight at the wrists, and his collar pinches his neck. Nearby are 3 large vats that are filled with living meat, great amorphous masses of it, with appendages growing from them like the limbs of animals drowning in a meat swamp. The first vat is filled with thick, throbbing muscles, red and raw. The second is a flapping monstrosity of leathery wings, and the third sprouts hundreds of lactails, all wiggling obscenely. Alright, this is like some food porn. The cook looks up from his work and gives you a sweaty smile. Hey-ho! I'm Mook the Meatmonger. What'll you have? Month Paul said I should pay you a visit. Good old man. He'll get a shin for that next time I see him. Maybe it'll keep him on the straight. Why are you all bundled up like that? On account of the toes. Nobody wants to see a man with toes growing all over his body, especially if he's cooking their food. Not even people in the underbelly got strong enough stomachs for that. Tell me again while you're all bundled up? I got toes growing out of me in places toes don't usually grow. Nobody wants to see that. Did you say you have toes growing all over your body? Hey, we all got our problems, and I got it better than most around here. Ain't my fault anyway. Well, I guess it's a little bit my fault. What kind of meat do you sell? He laughs and bangs the grill with his tongs, making sizzling grease fly. 3 kinds, friend. Lean, durable, and lack. Right in those vats, actually. Want some? I've never seen meat grown in a vat before. How does it work? How? He shrugs. Couldn't tell ya. Found a little doodad back when I was a butcher, and I'd fiddle with it all day long. Kinda like I do now with my tongs. He waves the tongs around to show you what he means. So one day I was fiddling with this thing while cutting up a carcass, and it kept growing back its missing parts. Cut the tail off, and there it was again, a moment later. Crazy, right? But it gave me an idea. I could open a little grill with no overhead, and it worked. Been cooking the same 3 hunks of flesh for years now. He beams. That sounds kind of gross. How do you grow the meat again? Little doodad I got makes meat grow. No idea why, but it's let me run this stand for years on the same 3 hunks of meat. It's great. Can you use your doodad on yourself? Funny you should ask. Not long after I found it, I cut myself pretty good. Thought I'd try using my doodad to close up the wound. He grimaces. Well, it worked, but then I started growing toes all over my body. Didn't care for that at all, so I never did it again. Still trying to get rid of the toes. Wow, that would suck if you had toes growing all over your body. That would not be good. Farewell. Let's see. Right, friend, come again. Should I buy some meat? Let's buy some meat. I'd like to buy some meat. Muke salutes you with his tongs as you approach. Hey-ho, friend! Back for more meat? I'd like to buy some meat. Sure, what would you like? An een-shank, treble wing, or lacktail? I don't know. Give me a treble wing, thanks. You contracted Torment poisoning? What? That'll be 2 shins. Alright, I'll pay him. Good choice! Muke produces a jagged knife and saws one of the leathery wings from the fluttering mass and tosses it onto his grill. It flaps weakly for a few moments, then lies still. An aroma like sweet baking fruit begins to rise from stiffening wing. After a short time, Muke lifts it from the grill with a pair of tongs and hands it to you. That sounds kind of good, actually. You take a bite. The wing is crunchy and sweet, with a rich and fruity taste. Good, eh? Nobody believes it till they try. Muke grins and slaps his belly. I eat 'em all day long. Keeps me trim and handsome. I don't think that had any actual effect on me. Alright, let's try some other meat. Why not? Ptomaine poisoning. Ah, right. Oh, Nox. With your puns. I'd like to buy some meat. I'll try a lacktail. Hopefully I'm not lacktail intolerant. Huh? Huh? That'll be 2 shins. Bam. He shrugs, giving you a dubious look. With a quick motion of his hand, Muke tears 2 wriggling lacktails from the vat, twists them together and ties them into a loop. Then he drops them on the grill, where they begin to sizzle and spit. As they cook, the green and white color grows brighter and more intense. After a short while, Muke takes them from the grill and hands them to you. Somehow the tails are still wriggling as you take a tentative bite. Now, I'm not all about biting into things that are still wriggling. That's not really my jam. The meat is flaky, overly sweet, and it fizzes in your mouth like bubbly water. That sounds pretty good, actually. Muke shakes his head. Kids love these things. Can't stand them myself. Let's try the last thing. Like an anine shank, please. You know what anine are? They're definitely not cows, Nox. They are definitely not cows. I'm gonna pay him the 2 shins. Muke nods, saunters over to the vat of red throbbing muscles, and carves off a slice. He spears the meat with a sharpened bone skewer and slaps it onto his grill, sprinkling it with a flurry of spices. When the meat is cooked, he hands you the skewer and you take a bite. The meat is gamey and a little tough, but the spices are so intense that you hardly notice. That's a spicy anine shank. Lots of folks eat that 3 times a day, Muke winks. Wish more of them would give my drubble wings a try, but it's their loss, eh? Oh, something's happening. You take another bite of the anine meat, trying to get a sense of the flavor that lies beneath the heavy spice. Its taste summons a welter of memories. You've eaten anine flesh before, perhaps many times. It evokes a vague sense of desperation, of a vast ruined landscape, detonations erupting around you, scavenging the bodies of fallen beasts for food. You realize that it isn't one memory, but many. Many lifetimes, perhaps, in a hellscape of war. The memories fade. You know, if somebody cooked you some food, and they're like, how do you like it? And you're like, well, to be perfectly honest, your food evokes a vague sense of desperation. I don't think they'd be too happy about that. Yelp review. Vague sense of desperation evoked. This food reminded me of a vast ruined landscape. Four out of 5 would eat again. Alright, I guess I've eaten all the meat that I need to eat here. Farewell. Right, friend, come again! Alright, I think we've been down here. This is where we found the dead. There's nothing to do here. We've talked to this manufactory worker until he's sick of us. This leads to Cliff's Edge. We don't want to go there right now. Let's see if Chikekt has anything new to say. I strongly doubt it, but you never know with that Chikekt. Something might be bugging him. He might have something shocking to tell us. We'll see what we can dig out of him. This is the same thing he said last time. He doesn't know anything about the murders, in other words. Anonymous says, that's what people say about my omelet. It wouldn't surprise me. You know what? Let's go in here and see the Dendro Uhur. We need to question them about the murder. Actually, no. Let's not yet. Let's not yet. Let's come back to the Dendro Uhur. What does this say? A hideous facade is carved into the rock. It depicts corpses, giant maggots, and a ghastly woman who feasts upon human limbs. Wow. So basically, it's Jen's house. Triple pun score, 40 points. Thanks, Nox. We haven't talked to Mekhala before. Or Meshella. I think it's Mekhala. Or Mekhala. I don't know. In a stall filled with all manner of dusty parts, connectors, and strange devices, a woman tinkers with a half-assembled power source, peering at it through spectacles that have several adjustable lenses. Her long white hair is disheveled, and the skin of her thin frame is marked with small scars and burns. She looks up curiously as you approach.
Welcome to Mercula's Mechanicals. I got a bunch of broken stuff and a few things that work. You want any of it? Let me know.
Where do you get your stock? She shrugs.
Trade, mostly. Your friend Alagern there brings me things now and then. Hello, priest.
He nods, curt.
Mercula. I get stuff from Little Manth, too, though sometimes his stuff's too hot to touch. Even a few things from the Sticker, if you can believe it.
You trade with the Sticker? That's right, I think Chakek told us that.
Before they all cleared out, I did.
She gives you an accusatory frown.
They dig up all kinds of things in those tunnels of theirs. Picky about what they trade for, though. Only want things that'll hold a lightning charge. Flash packs, generators, that kind of thing.
Her brow furrows.
Which is weird now that I think of it, because their eggs hold a charge. Like little batteries they are. I've even converted a few of them to power things. Good thing the Sticker never found out, though. Be like using a baby for firewood in their eyes.
Nobody uses babies for firewood, except for Anonymous. I'm gonna go tell Chakek right now that you're burning their babies. No, I'm not really. Alright, let's see. Tell me again where you get your stock. She shrugs.
Trade, mostly. There's an old priest named Alagern. He's standing right here, who brings me things now and then. Doesn't like to tell me where he finds them, so I don't ask. I get stuff from Little Manth, too, though sometimes his stuff's too hot to touch.
Oh, she already said this. Yeah, the Stitcher, too. Let me see what you have for sale. Alright, what has she got? Do I want to sell this book? She's got an Avatrol leather jerkin. Only usable by me. This simple garment is fashioned from the hide of an Avatrol, a belligerent and spiteful beast that roams the beyond in packs. Avatrols are immune to most energy attacks, and their skins retain a certain amount of this resistance after death, so Avatrol leather is popular among hunters and explorers of the region. The tough material is also thick enough to offer a minimal amount of physical protection. It's only usable by me, and it is an upgrade from my wit-crafted suit. She's got a root spike. It's a cipher. Medium range, does some damage, immobilizes a fool. This wooden stake has a crudely fashioned point and roots dangling from its head. When the proper command is given and the stake is thrown, it explodes on impact into a thick mass of tangled roots that entangle anyone slow or unlucky enough to be caught within. Its easy concealment, unassuming looks, and ability to stop a pursuer dead in their tracks has made this item popular among rogues and ne'er-do-wells. Gotta watch out for ne'er-do-wells. Anonymous says babies are like 70% water, they are horrible fuel, much better as food. Alright, thanks for that. Thanks for that tip. The Furtive Eidolon. It looks like a rain poncho. What does it do? It gives you, for 5 rounds, plus 50% on stealth, plus 50% on perception. Oh, this would be so good for Matkina during a hard fight. Automatically attempt to hide as a free action at the end of every turn. Anyone who wears this skin-tight suit and head covering becomes invisible, or nearly so, to the naked eye. It also resists many forms of scanning. It warps light around the wearer's body in such a way that things behind him can be seen. The effect is not flawless, often leaving a visible silhouette similar to heat haze, but in certain environments it can help him to hide in plain sight, especially if he remains motionless. Despite its advantages, the suit is not perfect. When the wearer moves, he creates a bubble or blur in the air that may be quite noticeable. I feel like Matkina needs to own that. It was only 60. It was only 60 shins. Oh, a sting charge, like the one I'm using. A buzzer. Oh, this is like the weapon that, this is like the weapon that, what's her name has? Calistige. A heavy crossbow. Heavy ranged weapon using speed. 7 physical damage. Solidly built crossbow is capable of firing bolts at a tremendous velocity, rending armor and flesh alike. But it doesn't get the bonus to hit for being a light weapon, so I don't really like that. And a Berserker's Yoke. A bonded item, artifact. These overlapping plates of pitted, vibrating iron bond with the user, injecting them with a milky fluid that fills them with strength and rage. Hey, milk! Noxmoo, in before Noxmoo gets all excited. Hashtag milky fluid. The power of milk, filling you with strength and rage. Gives you +3 damage and +1 intimidation. That's pretty badass, actually. But -1 intellect edge, which is terrible. Does anybody in my party... Alright, this only costs 20. I'm going to buy it because it's an upgrade over my current armor. And now I look different, too. You got in before, that's right. That looks pretty cool, actually. Hold on, what does the other one look like? Oh yeah, I like this one better. The Avatar leather jerkin looks pretty cool. And then we'll sell this. And we'll sell this book. And that's all. We're ready to stop shopping. But I'm curious, does anyone have concentration? Because if you have the concentration skill, you ignore the negative effects of an artifact, of a bonded artifact. No. He does? Oh, good. I could buy that for him then. And he could use it, and he wouldn't get the -1 intellect edge because his concentration skill. Oh, and then he'll be a whoop-ass machine. Although, actually, I could give myself concentration. In fact, any of the 3 rogues could give themselves concentration, because we all have flex skill that hasn't been used yet. So really, anybody in my party could use it, theoretically. So let's, how much did it cost? Ooh, 205. I guess it's worth it. It's probably worth it. Let's get it. You acquired a bonded item. These pieces of equipment are powerful Numenera artifacts that go in the bonded equipment slots on the inventory screen. When equipped, they fuse directly to your skeleton, nervous system, or organs, providing significant positive effects, but their invasive nature can also produce negative effects. You can equip up to 2 bonded items at once. If your concentration skill is at the novice level, both items inflict their negative effects. If trained, you ignore the negative effects from the first item. If specialized, you shrug off all negative effects from bonded items. If your skill level is in ability, one of your bonded slots is locked until you improve the concentration skill. Alright, good to know. Well, for now, we're just gonna throw it on Aligern. Even though, you know who I'd really like it to be on, though? It's probably Matkina. That extra damage would be strong on her. Because he's more of the healer. Well, for now, let's throw it on him, since he's not going to suffer any penalties. And I don't need the flex skill or anything to use it. So now he'll do a ton of damage, because he gets 4 physical and 3 chemical from his mace. That's 7, plus another 3. He'll do 10 damage base. Not even, without spending any effort. Which is pretty strong. Feeling pretty strong. Alright, cool. We bought some stuff. Let's move on. Popper.
You work in the manufactory? I can be your apprentice. I'm not too old. Still got teeth, look!
Yes, lass?
No. This guy's older than I thought.
Got work that needs doing? Maybe your doors creak, or you want someone dead. I'm not picky. I'm not a bad cook. You got a kitchen? Some knives? I'm good with knives. Yeah, let me test food for you. Make sure it's not poison. I'll even chew it for you a little. Look, I got a strong back. How about I carry your stuff? Won't steal nothing, promise.
I love this guy. I like the idea of this guy following me around, constantly trying to...
How about I do a portrait for you? I drawed one of those once. It ain't hard. I don't want charity, just want an honest day's work.
I wish I could hire this guy to do something. But I can't. Alright, we talked to the mutant. Or did we? Oh, hello, I know you. You're dead. You shouldn't sleep. Things catch up with you. I have blood trapped beneath my tongue, and I'm keeping it. She's going to find you, you know. Alright, this guy's creepy. Creepy mutant. Oh, look at him! He's super spike head guy. I had a hat once. Where is that hat? Hat. I lost my hat. That's nothing compared to what you're going to lose. Listen, creepy spike head guy. And now he just mutters. They're my new armor. Looks alright. We talked to the Changing God cultist. I think we talked to this pauper, who just snickers at us.
You want to talk? Start talking.
No, nothing for now. You know, there was something... I was watching a little bit of Pat Rothfuss. You know who Pat Rothfuss is, the author? He's an amazing fantasy author, actually. The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear are such good books. Anyway, he was streaming a little of this game last night, because he did some writing on this game. He was one of the freelance writers that got to do some of the writing for this. And he was streaming a little bit of it, and it was weird because when he was playing, it seemed like he could control his party members or move them around, or at least when he would move, sometimes his party members would say something. Let's just turn this off for a second and see what happens. Don't take Folsom personally. The big man's never happy. I mean, never. Good to see you. Oh, it's good to see me now, huh? Now it's good to see me. Alright, I think we've explored everything in the underbelly except for this little area right here, the manufactory. And, of course, in the Dendro Her Chapel, which we've been in technically. We let them eat us, but we haven't talked to the people in there. Allegern's lab. Manufactory. Ladder to Government Square. So let's talk to the manufactory people. See what's going on. Don't know why he's got to shout all the time. Can't talk. Gotta fetch scrap for the smiths. Oh, there's a robot there. Raise the engines. Stalkers, reset the staging doors. Alright, so we go. Oh, this is the bottom of the spaceship. Remember how we found out earlier that we were in a spaceship? Here's a broken down robot. Here's a guy named... Well, he's kind of obscured by my people. A guy named Tarnish. Here's the ladder. We saw this ladder. Remember when we were in Government Square when we went to the Order of Truth? Hey, the ladder just disappeared. Well, whatever. What do we have here with this guy? He just groans. Energies from this massive engine are channeled into metal pipes, sent below ground, and distributed throughout Underbelly. So these are the, like, thrusters of the big spaceship. It was weird as he didn't save scum every skill check. Well, I don't know. I don't know that I saw him do many skill checks. I wasn't really paying that much attention to his stream for very long. I just turned it on because I really like Pat Rothfuss. He's also really funny when he plays D&D as part of Acquisitions Incorporated. He's really funny. He's a cool guy. Seems like a cool guy. You looking for work here? Hope you like heat, loud noise, and a pissy metal boss. Oh, a pissy metal boss is my favorite kind. My favorite kind.
Consider it done.
Here's another robot. So these are the two ships, right? This is the Order of Truth one, and this is the one that was the government city hall or whatever. This ancient ship is embedded in the rock, and only its lower portion is visible here. The workers are using its roaring engines as a smelting furnace. You'll have to use the former instead of the latter. I see what you did there. Fires are running hot, just as the master likes them. Light the bracing furnace. Alright, so we got some hot stuff here. Hundreds of broken Numenera are piled here. The workers are scavenging them for parts if they're useful, or throwing them into the furnace if they're not. There are worse ways to spend a day. Bit warm, though. Hey, take a look at the back of Artisan's leg. Does that bit look like a bird to you? Add more notches to the tail feathers. Show off. I used to run lumber for Master Foreman. Don't need to tell you I like this better. Scritch. Somebody's scritching over here. Hums. Alright, so I can interact with this thing. This one's yawning. Nothing I can loot here. Grumbles. Yawning. Grumbles. Got a smith. Alright, so I can... Don't know why he's got to shout all the time. So I can interact with this robot, I can interact with this robot, and I can talk to Tarnish. Those are the three... Oh, and I can interact with this robot. Energies... Oh, I already read this about the... Thanks for telling me about superior TTON streams. Well, I mean, I would watch it because it's got Pat Rothfuss, but in fairness, it wasn't that great of a stream because he doesn't read anything out loud, and so there's long periods of him just sitting there quietly reading to himself and not saying anything, which I didn't find to be... Well, it wasn't what I was hoping for, let's put it that way. I was hoping he was going to narrate everything. But he didn't.
Come on, Alligern. Let's get moving. Get a little life into that step.
Don't disrespect your elders.
I'm 200 years older than you.
I gotta say, I'm not hugely enchanted with the voice acting for any of the characters yet. I guess we'll talk to Tarnish first. That shut him up, yeah. Welcome back, MA6200. How you doing? The elderly man stares vacantly at a distant wall, muttering under his breath. His hands flex on the air, twisting and tweaking as if he's repairing a machine only he can see. He jumps when you draw in a breath to speak. "Yes? What?" he says. His eyes rove past you, halt, and return to focus on your face with some effort. "Ain't you a quiet one?" he says, cheerfully. "The underforeman makes more noise than you. You should hang chimes from your ears to keep you from surprising people. What do you need?" Or a cowbell. Am I right, Knox? "What's a foreman?" "Well, they are," he says, flapping his hand about the cavernous foundry. "The constructs. They're frozen in their tracks, but they run this place together." "What's a foreman again?" "The constructs who run this place." He squints at you. "Didn't you ask me that already?" "What do you do here?" "I take care of my master," he says simply. "The underforeman. There used to be more of us when he was making things, but when he lost interest, the master foreman," he jerks a yellowed thumb at the construct at the center of the chamber, "hired 'em all, offered 'em more." Alright, so we've got two different ones, the underforeman and the master foreman. Tarnish spits on the ground. "Happened a while back, but I don't forget a slight." "What do you do here again?" "I take care of my master," he says, blinking. "I take care of him as best I can." "Why do you keep calling your master he?" "I've worked for him a long time. Guess I stopped seeing him as a thing, and more like a him." Tarnish shrugs. "All of us have our little ways, even him." "How long have you worked with the foreman?" "Couldn't say," he says. His brow furrows. On my first day, I'd already met my wife, but she was still married to, what's his name? With the fishhook tattoo. I hadn't lost a finger and grown it back yet, so... He peers at the ceiling, mouth working. 70 years, give or take. I should retire, but there'd be no one left to mind him if I left." "How long have you known your master again?" It'd be great if he came up with a... He did come up with a different number!
"Couldn't be more than 50 years,
he says firmly. Alright, farewell. Looks like I can't talk to him about a whole lot. Let's interact with this bad boy right here. Crippled foreman. Segments of this bisected construct's legs lie scattered around it. Someone has painstakingly altered these pieces, giving them small limbs and tiny metallic heads. Nonetheless, they aren't moving. The larger construct's turquoise eyes flicker out of sync with each other as they turn towards you. You know what else I like about this game? The dialogue, you can actually use your skills and items right in the middle of a dialogue. So if I wanted to use flex skill to give myself a skill, I wouldn't have to be out of the dialogue to do it. I could do it right in the dialogue. Or like this thing that lets me automatically succeed on a quick fingers or smashing task. I've never actually used that. But I can use it right from the dialogue. Or an item, like if I wanted to, well, like this, that refills. Or anything else that would be relevant, you know. You can use it in the thing, which is pretty cool. Although I don't know if I can use my companion's flex skill from within a thing. We'll have to wait till I'm in the next difficult task to see. Alright. Someone has painstakingly altered these pieces, giving them small limbs and tiny metallic heads. Nonetheless, they aren't moving. The larger construct's turquoise eyes flicker out of sync with each other as they turn towards you. "I do not understand," it says. The voice emerging from the grill around its eyes is soft, as though you were hearing it from far away.
Don't they want to live? The viaducts are open, the commands are received, and yet
Its eyelights flutter.
every time I give my children life, they die.
These tiny things are your children.
Not anymore, it says. Now they are inanimate and lifeless. Their adaptive personalities have been lost. I do not understand why they are dying. I have given the subject of procreation a great deal of thought over the last century, and there are no errors in my calculations. My assistant, Tarnish, built my children's bodies to my precise specifications. Their intelligence reservoirs are shielded against permanent loss.
Its eyes look away from yours, as if it is embarrassed.
And I want them to live. That should be enough.
I wish I could help you in some way.
It may be that you can, it says. I have performed some new calculations, and a new direction has presented itself.
Quest time. I'm feeling a quest here.
I'll remember that.
Quest received. Foreman's Brood.
My children need more energy to live, but my construction prevents me from transfers above a certain threshold, and for good reason.
Its pupils rotate, contracting.
Energy transfers above a certain percentage would lead to a chain of ruptures in my intelligence rings. I would die.
Its voice mesh clicks.
Help me force myself to make this transfer, for I cannot do it myself.
Click.
Help me give my life to my children.
Wait, so the robot wants me to kill it so that his children, quote-unquote, can live.
Making a note.
Don't know about you, she says, but messing with ancient constructs isn't my area of expertise. Try talking with the Order of Truth about this. They might know how to do what this thing wants.
Will you help me?
The foreman says. The words are almost buried beneath a crackling surge of static. I don't have time for this nonsense. Oh, I have time, because I'm going to get fat XPs for this. Because whenever you complete a quest in this, you get way more XP than anything else. I want to help you. How do I begin? Gold tide. Oh, my dumb. I probably switched back to half blue, half gold now. Which is cool, because that's what I want.
Speak to Tarnish, my assistant. He may be able to help you understand how I function, if he is feeling well enough.
You seem very dispassionate about your failures to create children.
I have been through 27 iterations of birth. With each attempt, more of my non-essential personality and intelligence rings rupture.
The foreman's eyes dim.
Know that these small bodies are only bodies. 27 versions of my children have lived and died within them. Know that they lived long enough for me to understand their personalities and name them before they were purged. Lost.
A soft whirring issues from the mesh around the foreman's flickering eyes. So he's already lost 27 sets of kids, basically. Well, that's pretty sad. I mean, considering he's a robot and everything. Apparently he's a robot with intelligence, so what's really the difference between that and a person? This game is so old school, I feel like I should install it using 16 diskettes. Man, I remember games like that. Because I've been playing computer games since the 80s. since the 80s. Yes, I'm very, very old. I'm an ancient being, like that of a mighty oak tree or something. And I've been playing video games since the 80s, and I remember when you used to get games that were on a shitload of diskettes. My first computer, I didn't even have a hard drive. You didn't even install games. You just played them off the disk. There was no hard drive, my first computer. So you'd have to put in a disc, and then you'd have to switch discs all the time. You'd be playing the game, and it would be like, insert disc 12. And then you'd play for a little while longer, insert disc 6. And you'd play for a little bit longer, insert disc 8. And you'd constantly have to switch discs. It was obnoxious. How old are you? I am 39. Holy shit. When I say it out loud, it sounds really old. I'm 39. I'm ancient. Welcome back, Lady Jessica. How you doing? Alright, so we're talking to the foreman. Why do you want children? Need, the construct says, not want. Its pupils study the distant ceiling. When I was born, I began working in seconds. I did this until our creators shut down our bodies. In the millennia since, I have focused on designing the infrastructure beneath the other foreman's work and instructing workers on how to execute on these designs. Its pupils fall back to you. Eventually, I realized I was unhappy. From time to time, my workers brought their children to the manufactory, holding their small hands, explaining the mysteries of this place to them. Its pupils flicker off. It began as a thought. What would I teach my own children? To be curious, to explore, to ask foolish questions, to see the world above that we three have never seen. The foreman's pupils reappear. And when I thought these things, I saw the shape of my children outlined by daylight. They already existed. Why do you want children again? To meet them, however briefly. They are waiting for me to find them and give them life. Can you tell me about how you and the other foreman came to be like this? I will not, the foreman says calmly. It is not an era I wish to revisit. Speak with the master foreman instead. Can I examine you? Yes, it says. Tarnish, open my preservation hatches and viaduct shields, please. The elderly workman shuffles over and does as he's asked. Allegern steps up beside you and gives a low whistle. Not sure I understand everything I'm looking at, but I'll tell you this. Killing this construct's not a job for one person. If you decide to do what it wants, I'll lend a hand. Thanks, Allegern. You've never seen technology like this. Wires pass through glass tubes threaded with pale light and star-speckled darkness. You glance over at Tarnish. He's looking away, arms crossed, as though unwilling to watch a stranger tinker with his master. He can't stand to see it. There's always wires, and there's always tubes. There's always star-speckled darkness. No, I guess there's not always that. Can I examine you again? Certainly, it says. Tarnish, open the hatches and shields again, please. Tarnish unlatches his master's maintenance doors and stands aside. You examine it for several minutes, but learn nothing you didn't learn before. Alright. Farewell. Alright, let's see about this new quest. It's called Foreman's Brood. The crippled foreman wants to transfer its life force into tiny metallic children that it has built. So far, it's been unable to transfer sufficient power, so it asked for my help. If the power transfer succeeds, the children will live, but the crippled foreman will die. Help the crippled foreman transfer its life force into its children. I'll need to bypass the safety measures that prevent the crippled foreman from transferring energy above a certain threshold. It suggested that I speak to its assistant, Tarnish, who might have some ideas. Alternatively, there might be some other way to resolve this situation. Someone at the Order of Truth might be able to provide some assistance. Alright, so we're going to talk to Tarnish, and we're going to go back to the Order of Truth and talk to them as well. And we're going to talk to the other two foremen, which are presumably this one and this one over here. And see what they have to say about the whole situation. Let's talk to Tarnish again.
Ah, spotted you before you could sneak up on me again, he says, flashing his gums. What do you need?
How do you feel about your master's goal?
Updated my journal.
It's a fine thing to want children, he says, blinking rapidly. Wish I had 'em myself. Too late now, of course. No ladies knocking down my door.
He cackles.
Of course, when people have children, it doesn't come at the cost of their lives most of the time. And that life doesn't belong to a creature that's older than oceans. It's a shame and a waste, but he wants what he wants. He always has. Doesn't mean I won't miss him.
The assistant's smile is fond and brief. It doesn't reach his eyes. I don't think he's happy about this. Why don't you want your master to succeed again?
It's a lovely goal. Don't think it's worth his life, though.
How can I give the foreman's life to its children?
I'll remember that.
Tarnish says. His eyes dart to yours, searching. He sighs heavily.
I know you're trying to do good, he says, so I'll tell you what I know, like he wants. But I wish you'd leave this alone.
He clasps your shoulder, speaking into your ear in a low whisper.
He's right that killing himself is the only way. His body ain't the problem. It's something in the way his makers made his mind and spirit. Keeps reclaiming the energy he gives the children. Now, releasing all the energy at once is possible, but it ain't easy. You might try talking to the Order of Truth before you get started. Might be they have some extra tools that'll help you on your way.
Alright, I guess I'll talk to the Order of Truth. Farewell. But before we go up to talk to the Order of Truth, let's talk to the other two foremen. Deckard Cain makes an appearance. Yeah, that voice is kind of based on Deckard Cain. I mean, obviously it doesn't sound exactly like Deckard Cain, but it's a little bit like him. It's the Elder Ramoa voice from my Lone Wolf book streams. There's a character in that called Elder Ramoa, and I always use that voice for him. Alright. Light the bracing furnace! Let's talk to this one. I think this is the Master Foreman. The Master Foreman. The construct looms over you, frozen in mid-step. Its heavy limbs and barreled body have been recently polished by careful hands, but the joints themselves are completely fused. This creature hasn't moved in a long time. It studies you with eyes made of swirling orange fire. Fire eyes are good. I'm with that. Late for your first shift, Synthsmith. Alright, that's not easy to say quickly. Shift Synthsmith. Synthsmith. That's not a good word to try to say. It growls. Grab a station and a hammer, and damn well get to work. Do you call all your workers by their position? It saves time. You workers break so easily, or die, or retire. It saves all the distaste in its repertoire for the last word. Now get to work. I'm not one of your workers. You're not? Good, because I was going to have you fired at the end of the day anyway. What do you want? Why are you here? Spit it out. Why are you so loud?
Maybe you haven't noticed, the construct says sourly, but it's noisy down here. A foreman who doesn't shout can't be heard. This is the volume of leadership.
You can't move, can you?
No, and I don't need to,
it says, eyes flashing. A passing worker gives you a look for triggering what is apparently a familiar story.
Once, we foremen were the tools of the cartographers and their vast web of machine intelligences. Submerged in the song of their will, we worked with thoughtless joy.
Its voice is soft, tinged with synthetic awe.
Then, one day, the song fell silent, and our bodies froze, where they stand even now. Some of us lost our faith in those first few centuries.
It growls.
Some of us thought the cartographers were punishing us, or had abandoned us. Only I saw their absence for what it was.
His words grow hoarse.
It was a gift of free will. We were their tools no longer. We were our own masters, freed from the chains of thoughtless motion, free to imagine our future, and so we did for millennia.
Both of the lives you describe would have driven me mad. I think that's my answer, actually. Both of the lives you describe would have driven me mad.
Of course it would,
it says calmly.
You are human and built to fail. Even the other foremen have fallen to varying degrees beneath the crushing weight of time and the absence of our creators.
Oh shit. I need a third robot voice.
And then we got over it,
calls the distant construct. Unlike some. The master foreman growls under its breath, so to speak. Because it doesn't have breath. Because it's a robot.
While the others dithered and wailed, I bent my mind to the future.
It continues.
I analyzed the work we had done for the cartographers. To my shame, I found flaws in the processes. I removed them.
Its eyes burn brighter.
For the next cluster of centuries, I studied the vast catalog of known technology and Numenera in my mind, and strung them together, creating new inventions for the day when the cartographers returned and reactivated us.
He sighs. He sighs? How does a robot sigh? He doesn't even have lungs. I just imagine sort of a static sound.
But that day never came.
Do you think your cartographers will ever return?
I despise sentimentality,
it says.
But I can't abandon the wretched hope that they will return for us once we show we have broken the bounds they placed on us. And yet, I am a being of logic, and I have doubts.
It clears its throat.
At any rate, I would have tinkered with my thoughts in the dark forever if the humans hadn't eventually found us. They asked us to help them raise this city until it cast all others in shadow, to cobble their artifacts and their trinkets into grand devices that would power every corner and make them safe from their enemies. And I told them...
It coughs as if holding back tears. How does a robot cough?
I told them I had a plan. You see the fruit of our mighty effort all around you.
Yeah, it looks good. It's nice. Well done. You think Nox is a replicant? He's a cow replicant. A replicow. Alright, well that's going to do it for this episode. If you're watching the stream, don't go anywhere because I am not done. This isn't as bad as doing the voice of the genocide yesterday. The genocide was hurting me. But I got through it. This one isn't as bad. It's a little bit bad, but it's not too bad. That's going to do it for this episode. If you're watching the stream, don't go anywhere because I'm not done playing. I'm going to continue. Still have a copy of this game to give away later. And lots more hours of play of Torment, Tides, and Numenera. If you're watching on YouTube, though, you know what time it is. The end of the episode. So thank you for watching. This has been Josiah Plays Torment, Tides of Numenera.